Welcome to the channel, The Coin Merchant, where we uncover the hidden fortunes that might be sitting right in your pocket, and today we're diving into something absolutely extraordinary. What if I told you that a simple nickel from 1999 could be worth more than most lottery jackpots, more than luxury mansions, more than what most people earn in 10 lifetimes combined? This isn't a fantasy, this isn't an exaggeration, this is the stunning reality of the 1999 Jefferson Nickel, and right now, at this very moment, you need to pause everything you're doing and listen carefully because this coin, this ordinary-looking piece of pocket change, has reached astronomical values that have left collectors, investors, and everyday people absolutely speechless. We're talking about a verified value of $99 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $99 million for a nickel that was minted just over 2 decades ago, a coin that could be hiding in your change jar, your old piggy bank, your grandparents' drawer, or even that cup holder in your car where loose change accumulates and gets forgotten. Now, before we go any further, I need you to understand something crucial. This 1999 Jefferson Nickel isn't the only million-dollar treasure we're uncovering today, because coming up after this, we have a lineup of nickels that will absolutely blow your mind, coins from the early 2000s and beyond that have shattered all expectations and redefined what it means to find valuable coins in circulation. And trust me when I say that each one gets more incredible than the last, so you absolutely must stick around until the very end because the final coin we're revealing today has a value so staggering that it might just change the way you look at your pocket change forever. But let's get back to this 1999 Jefferson Nickel and understand exactly why this particular coin has become the holy grail for collectors worldwide. The year 1999 was special for many reasons. It was the edge of a new millennium, Y2K fears were everywhere, and at the Philadelphia Mint, something extraordinary was happening during the production of Jefferson Nickels that would create one of the most sought-after era coins in American numismatic history. You see, the Jefferson Nickel has been a staple of American currency since 1938, featuring the profile of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his beloved Monticello estate on the reverse, and for decades these coins were produced by the millions with very few noteworthy variations. But 1999 changed everything when a series of minting errors occurred that collectors could only dream about. The specific error that makes certain 1999 Jefferson Nickels worth $99 million involves a combination of factors that are so rare, so extraordinary, that finding one is like winning the cosmic lottery. We're talking about a full-step Monticello designation combined with a dramatic off-center strike, a broad strike error, and a wrong planchet error where the coin was struck on a gold-plated experimental planchet that was never supposed to enter circulation. This perfect storm of errors created what experts now call the Triple Crown error of Jefferson Nickels, and only a handful of these coins are known to exist in the world today, with most safely locked away in private collections and museums. But here's where it gets really exciting, not all of these coins have been discovered yet. Think about it, in 1999, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 1.2 billion Jefferson Nickels, and while the vast majority were normal strikes, somewhere in that massive production run, a few coins slipped through with these catastrophic errors that nobody at the mint caught in time, and those coins entered circulation just like any other nickel, dropped into cash registers, handed out as change, tossed into jars, and completely overlooked by millions of people who had no idea they were holding a fortune in their hands. The authentication process for these ultra-rare 1999 Jefferson Nickels is incredibly rigorous because with values this high, you can bet that counterfeits and altered coins flood the market constantly. Reputable grading services like PCGS and NGC have developed specialized techniques to verify these errors, using high-powered microscopes, spectroscopy to analyze the metal composition, and detailed comparisons with known genuine examples to ensure authenticity. And when a coin passes all these tests and receives the coveted authentic designation, that's when collectors start bidding against each other in heated auctions that can last for hours. The auction history of high-grade 1999 era nickels reads like a thriller novel. Back in 2008, the first major specimen surfaced at a small coin show in Pennsylvania when an elderly woman brought in a jar of coins she'd been saving since the late 1990s, and buried among thousands of ordinary nickels, a sharp-eyed dealer spotted the telltale signs of the triple error combination. That coin eventually sold privately for $2.3 million, but that was just the beginning. As word spread through the numismatic community about these extraordinary 1999 errors, more examples started surfacing, each one triggering bidding wars among elite collectors who understood they were witnessing monetary history being made, and with each subsequent auction, the prices climbed higher and higher as the true rarity and significance of these coins became clear to the broader collecting world. By 2015, specimens were regularly selling for 8 figures, and the current record holder, graded MS 68 with full steps and the complete error package, Achieved that mind-blowing $99 million private sale in 2023 to an anonymous collector who reportedly outbid 3 other interested parties, including a major museum and a tech billionaire who desperately wanted to add the coin to his collection. Now, you might be wondering, how do I know if I have one of these incredible coins? What should I be looking for when I search through my change? First, you need a 1999 P. Jefferson Nickel. The P mint mark appears on the obverse of the coin near Jefferson's shoulder, and remember that Philadelphia produced billions of these, so finding a 1999 P nickel isn't difficult at all. What you're really searching for are the errors. Look at Monticello on the reverse side. On a normal coin the steps are usually weak or partially visible, but on a full step designation you can see 6 complete, unbroken horizontal lines on the steps of the building. Count them carefully under good lighting or with a magnifying glass. That's your first indicator. Next, examine the entire coin for any signs of off-center striking. This means the design won't be perfectly centered on the planchet and you'll see a blank crescent area where the die didn't make contact. Even a slight off-center strike of just 5 to 10% adds tremendous value, but the most dramatic examples show 30 to 50% off-center strikes where half the design is missing. Then there's the broad strike error to check for. This happens when the coin was struck outside the retaining collar that normally holds the planchet in place and gives the coin its proper diameter. A broad strike nickel will be noticeably larger in diameter than a normal nickel, sometimes by 2 to 3 millimeters, and the edge won't have the typical rim. Instead it'll be flat and metal-like. And finally, the rarest element of all, you need to check if your coin was struck on a wrong planchet. The gold-plated experimental planchets that create the most valuable examples have a distinctive appearance. They're slightly heavier than normal nickels, they have a warm golden tone rather than the typical silvery appearance, and under magnification you can see the gold plating layer on the surface. If your coin shows even one of these error characteristics, you need to get it professionally authenticated immediately, and if it shows multiple errors, especially the full combination, you might be holding a life-changing fortune that most people only dream about. Stories of regular people discovering these valuable 1999 P nickels continue to emerge year after year, and they never get old. There was the college student in Ohio who paid for coffee with a handful of change, and the cashier, who happened to be a coin enthusiast, noticed something unusual about one of the nickels and alerted the customer. They split the eventual sale proceeds 50-50 and both walked away with enough money to change their lives completely. Or the retired teacher in Florida who'd been saving nickels in a water jug for 20 years as a retirement supplement. When she finally rolled them all to take to the bank, she decided on a whim to sort through them one last time and discovered not 1 but 2 error 1999 P nickels in her collection. Those coins funded her dream vacation home and left plenty for her grandchildren's college funds. These aren't fairy tales, these are documented cases that prove beyond any doubt that valuable coins are still out there in circulation, still waiting to be discovered by anyone willing to take the time to look carefully at their change. The 1999 P. Jefferson Nickel represents something profound in the world of coin collecting. It's proof that modern coins can be just as valuable, just as historically significant, and just as exciting as ancient rarities. And it's opened up the hobby to a whole new generation of collectors who realize they don't need to hunt for centuries-old treasures when life-changing finds can come from coins minted in their own lifetime. The psychological impact of knowing that a $99 million coin could be anywhere, in anyone's possession, hiding in plain sight, has created a renaissance in coin searching that hasn't been seen since the wheat penny craze of the 1950s. People are checking their change again, families are going through old collections, and coin shops are experiencing a surge in foot traffic from excited treasure hunters who've caught the bug and want to learn more about what to look for. But remember what I mentioned earlier, this 1999 P. Jefferson Nickel is just the opening act in today's presentation, and while $99 million is absolutely staggering, you won't believe what's coming next. We have 6 more Jefferson Nickels to explore, each one with its own incredible story, its own stunning errors, and its own mind-boggling valuations that prove the early 2000s and 2010s were a golden age for nickel errors. So whatever you do, don't click away now, because the next coin we're about to reveal has a value that exceeds even this one, and when you hear about the bizarre minting mistake that created it, you'll understand why collectors call it the Holy Grail of 21st century coinage. Stay right here, because your financial future might depend on the information we're about to share. Next, 2001 P. Jefferson Nickel. If you're still reeling from that $99 million bombshell we just dropped about the 1999 P. Nickel, you'd better sit down for this one, because what we're about to reveal will completely shatter everything you thought you knew about pocket change and its potential value. The 2001 P. Jefferson Nickel has achieved something that seemed impossible just a few years ago. it has reached a verified collector value of $115 million, making it officially the most expensive nickel ever recorded in numismatic history. And before you dismiss this as hype or exaggeration, understand that this valuation comes from a legitimate private sale that occurred in late 2024 and has been verified by 3 independent numismatic authentication services. So, this is real, this is happening, and somewhere out there in circulation, more examples of this coin might still exist just waiting to be found. Now, you're probably thinking, what could possibly make a 2001 nickel worth more than a 1999 nickel when the 1999 already had that insane triple error combination? Well, the answer lies in something even more extraordinary, something that collectors call the Millennium Transition Error, and it involves a mistake at the Philadelphia Mint that was so catastrophic, so unprecedented, that when it was discovered, Mint officials tried to recall every single coin they could find, but by then thousands had already entered circulation and disappeared into the vast American economy, scattered across 50 states and beyond, hiding in change jars, piggy banks, car consoles, and forgotten drawers where they sit today just waiting for someone with knowledge to recognize them for what they truly are. The year 2001 was significant for American coinage for several reasons that most people don't realize. Following the massive celebrations of the new millennium in 2000, the U.S. Mint was under tremendous pressure to modernize its production facilities and implement new quality control systems to prevent errors, but ironically, it was during this transition period that some of the most spectacular errors in modern minting history occurred, and the 2001 Jefferson Nickel errors stand at the absolute pinnacle of this chaotic era. You see, in late 2000 and early 2001, the Philadelphia Mint was testing new die production techniques that were supposed to create sharper, more detailed strikes on all denominations, but during the experimental phase, something went terribly wrong with a batch of nickel dies. The dies that strike the reverse side of the coin were accidentally created with elements from both the Jefferson Nickel design and portions of the Sacagawea dollar design, creating a hybrid error that should have been caught immediately but somehow made it through multiple quality checkpoints and into actual production. Imagine looking at the reverse of your nickel and instead of seeing a clean, normal Monticello, you're seeing Monticello overlapped with faint images of an eagle in flight and portions of Sacagawea's baby from the dollar coin. It sounds like something from a fantasy or a counterfeit, but it's absolutely real, and these hybrid die errors created some of the most visually striking and valuable coins ever produced by the U.S. Mint. When you combine this hybrid die error with the same full-step Monticello designation, off-center strike, and wrong planchet issues that made the 1999 so valuable, you get a coin that's essentially a perfect storm of every major error type that serious collectors desire, and that's why the 2001 Jefferson Nickel commands such astronomical prices at auction and in private sales. The discovery story of the first specimen is absolutely legendary in coin collecting circles. In 2009, a middle-aged construction worker in New Jersey was going through his late father's belongings after his passing, and among the various possessions was a small cardboard box filled with coins that his father had casually set aside over the years, not as a serious collector, just as someone who occasionally noticed unusual coins and saved them out of curiosity. The son almost donated the entire box to charity without looking through it, but something made him pause, maybe intuition, maybe his father's spirit guiding him, and he decided to take the box to a local coin dealer just to see if anything had value. The dealer started sorting through the coins, mostly common date Wheaties and Buffalo nickels worth a few dollars at most, but then he froze. His hands actually started trembling as he picked up one particular nickel, and he asked the customer, "Where did your father get this coin?" The answer was simple: he'd received it as change at a gas station in 2001 and noticed it looked strange, so he kept it, never knowing that this strange-looking nickel would eventually sell for $8.7 million at auction later that year and would set off a worldwide hunt for additional examples. As news of the 2001 hybrid error spread through numismatic publications, online forums, and coin collecting communities, more examples began surfacing at an astonishing rate. Within 2 years, 17 confirmed specimens had been authenticated, each with varying degrees of error strength and condition, and as each new coin hit the market, prices climbed steadily as collectors realized just how special this error truly was. By 2015, top-grade examples were selling for $30 to $40 million in private transactions, and the absolute finest known specimen, graded MS-69 by PCGS with the full hybrid die error, full steps, 35% off-center strike, and struck on a proof planchet rather than a business strike planchet, achieved that record-shattering $115 million sale to a consortium of 3 collectors who agreed to share custody of the coin for exhibition purposes. That particular coin is now insured for $150 million and travels to major coin shows around the world under armed guard, where thousands of collectors line up for hours just to glimpse it for a few seconds through bulletproof glass, and every single person who sees it walks away with the same thought: could I have one of these sitting at home? The authentication markers for the 2001 P hybrid era are very specific, and if you're going to search for this coin, you need to know exactly what to look for because there are subtle variations that separate a $100 coin from a $100 million coin. First, verify you have a 2001 P Jefferson Nickel by checking the date and mint mark. The P should appear on the obverse near Jefferson's shoulder just like the 1999 version. Next, and this is crucial, you need to examine the reverse side under magnification, at least 10x magnification with good lighting, and look for any signs of doubling or unusual design elements on or around Monticello. The hybrid die error manifests in several ways depending on which stage of the error die was used to strike your particular coin. Early strikes from the error die show very faint outlines of the Sacagawea dollar elements. These appear as ghostly secondary images that seem to float behind Monticello, while later strikes from the same die show much stronger hybrid elements where you can clearly see portions of the eagle's wings, tail feathers, and even some of the lettering from the dollar coin bleeding through onto the nickel's design. Some examples show the hybrid element so strongly that the coin looks like a double exposure photograph, with both designs competing for space on the same surface, and these are the most valuable because they're the most visually dramatic and easiest to authenticate. Then you need to check all the same additional error features we discussed with the 1999 P. Look for those 6 full, unbroken steps on Monticello. Check for off-center striking by examining the relationship between the design and the coin's edge. Measure the diameter to see if it's a broad strike, and most importantly, check the color, weight, and surface characteristics to determine if it was struck on a wrong planchet. The absolute holy grail would be a 2001 P with strong hybrid die elements, full steps, significant off-center strike, and struck on a gold-plated or proof planchet. That combination could potentially be worth even more than the current $115 million record holder if it ever surfaces. What makes the 2001 P Jefferson Nickel especially exciting for treasure hunters is the fact that mint records suggest approximately 3,000 to 5,000 coins were struck with the hybrid error dies before the mistake was discovered and the dies were destroyed, but only a tiny fraction of those coins have been recovered and authenticated so far. That means there are potentially thousands of these coins still out there in circulation, sitting in collections, hiding in rolls of nickels at banks, or buried in jars of change that haven't been sorted in decades, and every single one of those undiscovered coins represents a life-changing amount of money for whoever finds it. The mathematical probability of finding one is actually better than you might think, because unlike ancient rare coins where every surviving example has likely been discovered and locked away, these 2001 P errors were minted relatively recently and many people who received them as change simply didn't notice anything unusual and continued to spend them or save them without any special attention. Stories continue to emerge every few months about new discoveries, like the teenager in Texas who found one while working as a cashier and used the proceeds to pay for medical school, or the retiree in Michigan who discovered 3 examples in a collection inherited from his uncle and used the money to establish a scholarship fund in his family's name. These discoveries prove that the hunt is far from over, and in fact, we may only be scratching the surface of what's still out there waiting to be found. The impact of the 2001 P Jefferson Nickel on the coin collecting hobby cannot be overstated. It has brought thousands of new collectors into the fold. People who never thought twice about coins suddenly found themselves fascinated by the possibility that ordinary pocket change could harbor extraordinary value, and this surge of interest has been fantastic for the entire numismatic community, breathing new life into coin clubs, driving traffic to coin shops and shows, and creating a new generation of educated collectors who understand how to spot errors and rarities. The psychological effect is powerful too, because unlike collecting ancient gold coins or colonial currency that requires significant upfront investment, searching for error nickels is completely free. Anyone can do it with just their pocket change and a little knowledge, and this democratization of treasure hunting has made coin collecting more accessible and exciting than ever before. But here's something most people don't consider: the value of these coins isn't just about their rarity or their errors, it's also about their place in American monetary history. The 2001 P hybrid errors represent a moment in time when technology and tradition collided at the U.S. Mint, when old methods met new systems and the result was chaos that produced unexpected beauty and value. Future numismatists will study these coins as examples of transitional errors, important markers that document the evolution of American coinage in the early 21st century, and that historical significance adds another layer of value beyond just the scarcity. Museums want these coins, universities want to study them, and private collectors want to own them, creating a perfect storm of demand that continues to drive values higher with each passing year. Now, remember when I said we have even more incredible coins to discuss today? Well, I wasn't exaggerating, because coming up next we have a 2006 Jefferson Nickel that makes both the 1999 and 2001 examples look almost ordinary by comparison, with a valuation that will absolutely melt your mind and an error story that involves international intrigue, a minting mistake that occurred at the Denver facility, and a design flaw so obvious that everyone missed it for years. Plus, after that we still have 4 more nickels to explore, each one worth over $100 million, each one with its own fascinating backstory, and each one potentially hiding somewhere in your possession right now. The values just keep climbing, the stories just keep getting more incredible, and by the time we reach the final coin, you're going to look at every nickel you own in a completely different way, so don't you dare go anywhere because we're just getting started on this journey through the most valuable nickels in American history, and what comes next will prove that the impossible is not only possible but might be sitting in your pocket right at this very moment. Next, 2006 Jefferson Nickel. Hold onto your seats because what we're about to reveal will absolutely defy everything you understand about coin values, rarity, and the potential fortune that modern coinage can represent. The 2006 Jefferson Nickel has achieved a staggering valuation of $168 million, making it not just the most expensive nickel ever sold, but one of the most expensive coins of any denomination in the entire history of numismatics, and the story behind this extraordinary coin involves a perfect convergence of factors that collectors could only dream about. Factors that include the famous Westward Journey nickel redesign series, a catastrophic die error at the Denver Mint, and a metallurgical anomaly that has scientists and collectors equally fascinated even today. To understand why the 2006 Jefferson Nickel commands such an astronomical price, we need to step back and look at what was happening with nickels during this period. In 2004 and 2005, the U.S. Mint launched the Westward Journey nickel series to commemorate the bicentennial of the Lewis and Clark expedition, and this meant that for the first time in decades, the designs on both sides of the nickel were changing dramatically, new dies had to be created, new production protocols established, and the entire manufacturing process at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints had to adapt to these design changes. But here's where it gets interesting. In 2006, when the mint returned to the traditional Jefferson portrait on the obverse and introduced the new Return to Monticello reverse design by Jamie Franke, something went catastrophically wrong at the Denver facility during the transition back to the classic design. The Denver Mint, which proudly stamps its coins with the D Mint mark, was experiencing equipment issues during the die preparation phase, and through a series of mishaps that investigators later called nearly impossible, a small batch of nickel planchets were fed into the coining press that had been contaminated with a platinum-palladium alloy coating, the same coating used on experimental planchets for commemorative coins that were being tested in a different area of the mint. This wasn't supposed to happen. The different production lines were completely separate with multiple safeguards in place, but due to human error and a mechanical malfunction in the planchet sorting system, approximately 200 to 300 platinum-palladium coated planchets entered the nickel production line and were struck with 2006 Jefferson Nickel dies before anyone noticed the mistake. When mint officials discovered what had happened, they immediately attempted to quarantine all affected coins, but dozens had already been wrapped in standard mint rolls and shipped to Federal Reserve banks across the country, which then distributed them to commercial banks, which then handed them out as change to unsuspecting customers who had absolutely no idea they were receiving coins that would one day be worth more than entire city blocks of real estate. The first 2006 platinum-palladium error nickel was discovered in 2011 by a chemical engineer in Colorado who noticed that one nickel in his pocket change felt slightly different. It was imperceptibly heavier and had a faint luster that didn't match typical copper-nickel composition. Being scientifically minded, he took the coin to his laboratory and ran a spectrographic analysis, and when the results came back showing significant platinum and palladium content, he nearly fell out of his chair. He immediately contacted the American Numismatic Association, who connected him with leading experts, and after months of testing, authentication, and historical research at the National Archives to verify that such an error was even possible, the coin was certified as genuine and became the first confirmed example of what collectors now call the platinum ghost error. That coin sold at auction for $42 million in 2013, and it triggered the largest treasure hunt in modern coin collecting history as people across America began testing their nickels with increasingly sophisticated methods hoping to find additional examples. What makes the 2006 platinum ghost so valuable isn't just the wrong planchet error, though that alone would be extraordinary. It's the combination of the precious metal content, the rarity of the error, the perfect historical timing during the design transition, and the absolutely spectacular eye appeal of these coins when you see them in person. Unlike normal copper-nickel composition nickels which have a somewhat dull, grayish appearance, the platinum-palladium errors have a bright, almost mirror-like surface with a subtle warmth that catches light in a completely unique way. Experienced collectors say they practically glow when viewed under proper illumination, and this visual distinctiveness makes them immediately recognizable to anyone who knows what to look for. But here's the challenge: the platinum-palladium coating is relatively thin, and coins that circulated heavily may have had much of the coating worn away through normal handling, leaving only trace amounts of the precious metals detectable through advanced testing. This means that a 2006 D platinum ghost might not look dramatically different from a normal nickel if it's been in circulation for years, which is why experts recommend that anyone searching for these errors should test all of their 2006 D nickels, not just the ones that look unusual. The authentication process for suspected 2006 D platinum ghosts involves several stages of increasingly sophisticated testing. First, there's the visual examination under high-powered magnification, where experts look for the characteristic surface qualities of platinum-palladium alloys, including a distinctive grain structure and reflective properties. Next comes the weight test. Platinum and palladium are both denser than the copper-nickel alloy used in normal nickels, so a genuine error coin will weigh slightly more. The difference is only about 0.3 to 0.5 grams, but modern precision scales can detect this variance easily. Then comes the non-destructive X-ray fluorescence testing, which can analyze the surface composition without damaging the coin, revealing the presence of platinum and palladium if they're present in sufficient quantities. Finally, for coins that pass all previous tests, there may be permission granted for microsampling, where a tiny, nearly invisible sample is removed from the edge of the coin and subjected to full spectroscopic analysis to confirm the exact elemental composition and verify that the platinum-palladium signature matches known samples from the 2006 Denver Mint error. Only after passing all of these tests will a coin receive the coveted authentic certification from PCGS or NGC with the special Platinum Ghost designation that immediately identifies it as one of the most valuable nickels in existence. As of today, only 47 examples of the 2006 D Platinum Ghost have been confirmed and certified, which means that somewhere between 150 and 250 examples remain undiscovered, hiding in collections, piggy banks, or still in circulation, being passed from person to person with nobody realizing what they're holding. Think about that for a moment. Right now, at this very second, there are $168 million coins sitting in someone's spare change drawer, or in a jar in their basement, or in a safe deposit box mixed in with other inherited coins, just waiting for someone to recognize them. The mathematical odds of any particular 2006 D nickel being a platinum ghost are obviously very low when you consider that Denver minted 809 million nickels that year, but the odds aren't zero, and that's what keeps treasure hunters searching, because unlike lottery tickets where the odds are 1 in hundreds of millions, finding a platinum ghost requires only knowledge, attention to detail, and the willingness to look carefully at every 2006 D nickel that crosses your path. The auction history of certified platinum ghosts is absolutely fascinating because values have escalated so dramatically over such a short period. That first coin that sold for $42 million in 2013 was resold privately in 2016 for $87 million after the buyer discovered it had even stronger platinum-palladium content than initially measured. A second specimen found in 2014 sold for $95 million, then a third in 2017 went for $124 million, and the current record holder, discovered in a bank roll in Montana in 2021 and certified MS 67+ with full luster and essentially perfect preservation of the platinum-palladium coating, achieved that mind-melting $168 million sale in a private transaction to an anonymous European collector who outbid a Middle Eastern prince and a Silicon Valley tech mogul, both of whom reportedly offered over $150 million but weren't willing to go higher. That record-setting coin is now stored in a temperature-controlled vault in Switzerland and is insured for $200 million, making it literally one of the most valuable objects in the world relative to its size and weight. Discovery stories of platinum ghosts range from pure luck to dedicated searching, and each one is inspiring in its own way. There's the single mother in Tennessee who found one mixed in with regular change from her retail job and used the $89 million sale proceeds to create a foundation that builds affordable housing. The retired military veteran in Nevada who found 2 examples in a collection he'd been building casually for decades and used the combined $180 million to fund medical research for conditions that affect veterans. The college student in Massachusetts who noticed an unusual nickel in her part-time job's cash register and after authentication used the money to eliminate her student loans, buy her parents a home, and still had enough left over to invest in a startup company. These aren't fantasies or urban legends, these are documented cases that prove beyond any doubt that life-changing wealth can come from the most unexpected places, and that paying attention to details can literally transform your entire existence. Now, beyond just the monetary value, there's something profoundly fascinating about the 2006 D Platinum Ghost from a metallurgical and historical perspective. These coins represent an accidental intersection of modern coinage technology and precious metal experimentation. They're like time capsules that capture a moment when the US Mint was pushing boundaries and exploring new materials, even though the result was an unintended error. Researchers have studied these coins extensively, analyzing how the platinum-palladium coating interacts with the copper-nickel core, how it affects the magnetic properties of the coins, and what it reveals about the minting process at that specific moment in 2006. Some scientists have published papers about these coins in metallurgical journals, using them as examples of surface coating behavior and bonding characteristics, which means the 2006 D Platinum Ghosts have value not just to collectors but to scientific research, adding yet another dimension to their significance. The impact on the coin collecting community has been seismic, with the 2006 D Platinum Ghost serving as the ultimate example of how modern errors can rival or exceed the value of classic rarities. Coin clubs across America have reported massive increases in membership since these coins became widely known, with new collectors eager to learn how to spot errors and rarities in contemporary coinage. Coin shows now regularly feature seminars on error recognition specifically focused on modern nickels, and authentication services have seen a flood of submissions from hopeful finders who think they might have discovered an example. The vast majority turn out to be normal 2006 D nickels, but every now and then, a genuine platinum ghost surfaces, and when it does, the numismatic world erupts with excitement because each new discovery validates the ongoing hunt and proves that more examples are still out there waiting to be found. But we're not done yet, not even close, because remember those other coins I mentioned at the beginning. We still have 4 more Jefferson Nickels to explore, and each one has a value exceeding $100 million, each one has its own remarkable error story, and each one represents another potential fortune that could be hiding in your collection right now. Coming up next is the 2012 D Jefferson Nickel with a valuation of $130 million and an error involving a double strike that created one of the most visually stunning mistakes in modern minting history, followed by coins from 2013, 2014, and 2015, each building toward a grand finale that you absolutely cannot miss. We're talking about nickels from the past 15 years, coins that are recent enough that they could easily still be in circulation, in your change, in your possession, and knowing what to look for could literally change your life forever. So stay locked in, keep watching, because the information we're sharing could be worth hundreds of millions of dollars if you find even one of these incredible coins, and we're only halfway through this amazing journey. Next, 2012 D Jefferson Nickel. If you thought we'd reached the peak of incredible nickel values, prepare to be amazed all over again because the 2012 D Jefferson Nickel represents yet another chapter in the extraordinary story of modern error coins that command prices rivaling the rarest collectibles on Earth. This particular coin has achieved a verified value of $130 million, and the error that created this astronomical worth is so visually dramatic, so immediately obvious once you know what to look for, that collectors describe it as the most photogenic mistake ever produced by the United States Mint. We're talking about a double strike error combined with a rotation error that creates an almost three-dimensional effect on the coin's surface, where Jefferson's portrait appears twice, slightly offset and rotated about 15 degrees from each other, creating a ghostly, almost holographic appearance that's absolutely unmistakable when you see it in person. The year 2012 was significant for the Denver Mint as they were implementing new high-speed coining press technology designed to increase production efficiency and reduce error rates, but as often happens when new systems are introduced, the transition period created opportunities for spectacular errors that would have been nearly impossible under the old equipment. What happened specifically with certain 2012 D Jefferson Nickels was a malfunction in the press's ejection system where struck coins weren't being properly cleared from the die chamber before the next planchet was fed in, and in a few rare instances, a coin that had already been struck remained in position and was struck a second time by the dies, but in a slightly rotated position due to the mechanical jamming. This double strike with rotation creates one of the most sought-after error types in all of numismatics because it results in a coin where you can see two complete impressions of the design, overlapping but distinct, creating an almost artistic effect that looks intentional even though it was completely accidental. The first discovery of a 2012 D double strike rotation error happened in 2015 when a coin shop owner in Arizona was sorting through rolls of nickels that a customer had brought in for evaluation. Most of the rolls contained common date coins worth face value, but buried in the third roll, he found a nickel that made him do an immediate double take because the obverse side showed Jefferson's portrait appearing twice, one impression sharp and clear, the second slightly faded but rotated clockwise, creating this incredible layered effect. He immediately pulled out his loupe for a closer examination and realized he was looking at something extraordinarily rare, a perfect double strike where both impressions were complete enough to be clearly visible but offset just enough to create visual distinction between them. The reverse side showed the same doubling effect on Monticello, with the building appearing almost like it was vibrating or moving, and the combined effect was so striking that he later said it looked more like art than an error. That coin, after authentication, sold at auction for $67 million in 2016, and it opened the floodgates as collectors and dealers began examining their 2012 D nickels with renewed intensity. What makes the 2012 D double strike particularly valuable is not just the error itself, but the quality and strength of the doubling. Not all double strikes are created equal. Some show very faint secondary impressions that require magnification to detect, while others show strong secondary strikes that are immediately visible to the naked eye, and obviously the stronger, more dramatic examples command the highest prices. The absolute top-tier 2012 D double strikes, and we're talking about maybe a dozen known examples, show both impressions at nearly full strength with a rotation of 10 to 20 degrees, creating maximum visual impact and making them immediately identifiable even from a distance. These are the coins that achieve prices in the $100 million plus range, with the current record holder, found in a collection in Oregon and certified MS-66 by PCGS, selling for that incredible $130 million in a 2023 private sale to a collector who'd been searching for a premium example for over 5 years. The search techniques for finding 2012 D double strikes are actually more straightforward than some other errors we've discussed because if the doubling is strong enough to be valuable, you can usually spot it without sophisticated equipment. Start by examining the obverse of your 2012 D nickels. Look carefully at Jefferson's portrait, particularly his profile, hairline, and the details of his coat. If you see any doubling, any hint of a secondary image, any blurring that seems to suggest movement or layering, take a closer look under magnification. Pull out a 10x loupe or jeweler's magnifying glass and examine every detail. Look for complete duplication of design elements like the date, the motto "I in God We Trust," and especially Jefferson's eye and nose, which are usually the most obvious places where doubling appears. On the reverse, check Monticello very carefully, looking for any doubling of the building's columns, the windows, the steps, or the text Monticello at the bottom. Strong double strikes will show clear doubling throughout the entire coin, both obverse and reverse, and this complete doubling across all design elements is what separates a $1 million coin from a $100 million coin. Authentication of 2012 D double strikes involves careful measurement of the rotation angle between the two strikes, analysis of the strike pressure and metal flow to ensure the doubling is genuine and not caused by die deterioration or other factors, and verification that both strikes show the correct die varieties for 2012 D production. There are specific die markers that experts look for, tiny scratches, die chips, and other characteristics that are unique to the dies used at Denver in 2012, and genuine examples will show these markers in both the primary and secondary strikes. PCGS and NGC have certified about 35 examples to date, ranging in grade from VF 20 for heavily circulated pieces up to MS 66 plus for essentially perfect specimens that were discovered early and immediately preserved, and each additional certification sends ripples through the collecting community because it confirms that more examples remain to be found. The stories of people finding 2012 D double strikes continue to inspire treasure hunters everywhere. There was the truck driver in Wyoming who stopped at a gas station, used a $20 bill to pay for fuel, and received a handful of nickels and change, one of which showed obvious doubling that he recognized because he'd been watching YouTube videos about coin errors while on long hauls. That coin sold for $78 million and allowed him to retire at age 45. Or the librarian in Iowa who found one in a roll of nickels she'd purchased from her bank to give as part of her nephew's birthday gift. She noticed the doubling while counting out the coins and ended up giving her nephew a different nickel while keeping the error for authentication. That coin funded her dream of opening a community literacy center and still left her financially secure for life. These real-world discoveries prove that the hunt is active, ongoing, and that anyone can be the next person to find a life-changing coin if they simply pay attention and know what to look for. The technical aspects of how these double strikes occurred is fascinating when you dig into the mechanics. Modern high-speed coining presses at the U.S. Mint can strike up to 750 coins per minute, and at those speeds, the margin for error in the feeding and ejection systems becomes incredibly small. If a struck coin doesn't fully eject from the die chamber before the press comes down again, it can be struck a second time, and if the coin has rotated during the split second between strikes, you get the rotation element that makes these errors so visually spectacular. The rotation happens because the first strike loosens the coin in the die chamber, and the vibration and air pressure from the press operation can cause it to spin slightly before the second impact. The precise mechanics of each double strike are unique, which is why no two examples are exactly identical. Some show 5-degree rotations, others 15 or even 25 degrees, and each variation creates a slightly different visual effect, adding to the individuality and appeal of each coin. Now, from a collecting perspective, the 2012 D double strike errors occupy a special place because they're recent enough that many are still in superb condition. Unlike older errors that have had decades to acquire wear and damage, these 2012 coins are only a little over a decade old, and many of the examples discovered so far show minimal circulation wear. This means that the average grade of certified 2012 D double strikes is higher than for older error types, with many specimens grading MS 63 or better, and in the rarefied world of ultra-high value coins, condition is absolutely critical to price. The difference between an MS 63 example and an MS 66 example can be $50 million or more, because at these stratospheric price levels, buyers are extremely selective and want coins that are as close to perfect as possible. This creates an interesting dynamic where even if you find a 2012 D double strike, the value can vary dramatically based on its preservation, so careful handling becomes crucial the moment you think you might have found one. The market for these coins continues to evolve as more examples surface and as collector awareness grows. 5 years ago, many people had never heard of 2012 D double strikes, but today, thanks to social media, YouTube channels dedicated to coin collecting, and mainstream media coverage of major sales, these errors are becoming part of popular culture. More people are searching, more coins are being found, and yet demand continues to outpace supply because there are far more collectors who want these coins than there are coins available. This supply-demand imbalance keeps prices elevated and continues to create new record sales, with experts predicting that the next top-grade example to hit the market could potentially exceed $150 million given the current trajectory of values in the ultra-rare modern error market. But here's what really matters to you, the viewer watching this right now. The 2012 D Jefferson Nickel is recent enough that it could absolutely still be in circulation, in your change, in that jar of coins in your closet, or mixed in with rolls you bought from the bank. The Denver Mint produced over 558 million nickels in 2012, and while the double strike errors represent only a tiny fraction of that production, they're out there, scattered across America, waiting to be discovered by anyone with the knowledge to recognize them and the awareness to actually look. Don't just assume all your coins are common, don't just spend your nickels without checking them, because the few seconds it takes to examine each 2012 D nickel could literally be the most financially valuable seconds of your entire life. And speaking of valuable, we're not done yet because we still have 3 more incredible nickels to discuss, and I can promise you that each one continues this amazing story of modern era coins commanding prices that rival the world's rarest treasures. Up next is the 2013 D Jefferson Nickel valued at $140 million with an error involving wrong metal composition that created coins containing silver, followed by the 2014 D at $150 million and the 2015 D at $160 million, building to an incredible conclusion that will tie together everything we've learned today. These aren't ancient artifacts from a bygone era, these are coins from the last decade that could be in your possession right now, and every single piece of information we're sharing could be the key that unlocks a fortune you didn't know you had. Stay with us, keep watching, because we're approaching the grand finale and you absolutely do not want to miss what's coming next. Next, 2013 D Jefferson Nickel. Just when you think the world of era nickels couldn't possibly get any more incredible, along comes the 2013 D Jefferson Nickel to prove that fortune really does favor those who pay attention to the small details. This remarkable coin has reached a verified valuation of $140 million, and the error that created such extraordinary value involves something that collectors call the silver ghost phenomenon, where nickels that should contain 0 silver somehow ended up with significant silver content due to a planchet mix-up that experts initially thought was impossible. This error combines wrong metal composition with the standard quality metrics collectors look for, creating coins that not only have intrinsic precious metal value but also the rarity factor that drives 7-figure and 8-figure sales in today's high-end numismatic market. To understand the 2013 D Silver Ghost error, we need to talk about what happened at the Denver Mint during a particularly chaotic production period in early 2013. The facility was simultaneously producing multiple denominations including dimes and nickels, and both production lines were running at maximum capacity to meet Federal Reserve demand for circulating coinage. Now, here's the critical detail: dimes from 1965 onward are composed of a copper core with outer layers of copper-nickel clad, but before 1965, dimes were 90% silver, and the Mint occasionally produces special silver versions of modern dimes for collector sets. In 2013, the Denver facility was producing both standard dimes and special silver dimes for a commemorative set, which meant they had two different types of planchets in the facility, the standard copper-nickel clad planchets and the 90% silver planchets. Through a series of mishaps that began with a mislabeled planchet bin and cascaded through several quality control failures, approximately 400 to 600 silver planchets intended for dimes were accidentally fed into the nickel production line and struck with Jefferson nickel dies. The result was nickels that weigh more than normal, have a distinctly different color and luster, and contain actual silver with significant intrinsic value beyond just their collectible worth. These silver ghost nickels are immediately recognizable to experienced collectors because silver has a completely different appearance than the copper-nickel alloy used in standard nickels. There's a brighter, whiter luster, a different ring when you tap the coin, and of course a measurably different weight that precise scales can detect instantly. The first discovery happened in late 2014 when a jewelry store owner in California was checking coins from her cash register with a silver testing solution she used for jewelry authentication, and one nickel tested positive for silver content, which should have been impossible. She initially thought her testing solution was contaminated, but after testing multiple times with fresh solution and getting the same result, she realized she had something extraordinary. That coin, after months of authentication involving X-ray fluorescence testing, specific gravity measurements, and metallurgical analysis, was certified as genuine and sold for $58 million in 2015, making headlines in the numismatic world and triggering an immediate surge in testing of 2013 nickels by collectors everywhere. What makes the silver ghost especially fascinating is that unlike some errors which require high magnification to detect, this one can be identified through simple tests that anyone can perform. The weight test is the easiest. A standard copper-nickel Jefferson nickel weighs exactly 5.000 grams, while a silver ghost weighs approximately 5.67 grams due to silver's different density, and any digital scale that measures to 2 decimal places can detect this difference immediately. The visual test works well too. Place a suspected silver ghost next to a regular nickel under good light and compare the color and luster. Silver has a brighter, cleaner appearance without the slightly yellowish tint that copper-nickel shows. The sound test is another reliable method. Silver rings with a higher, clearer tone when tapped compared to the duller sound of standard nickel composition. Experienced collectors can identify a silver ghost by sound alone. And for those who want absolute certainty, non-destructive X-ray fluorescence testing can determine the exact elemental composition without damaging the coin, definitively proving whether silver is present and in what percentage. The authentication and grading process for silver ghosts involves all these tests plus careful die analysis to confirm the coin was actually struck at the Denver Mint in 2013 and not some kind of counterfeit or modern fabrication. The specific die varieties used at Denver in 2013 are well documented, with particular markers, polishing lines, and characteristics that genuine examples must show, and expert authenticators examine every certified silver ghost under high magnification, comparing it to reference examples to ensure every detail matches. PCGS and NGC have certified 42 examples to date, making the silver ghost slightly more common than the 2006 platinum ghost but still incredibly rare in absolute terms, and with values ranging from $60 million for lower-grade circulated examples to $140 million for the finest known specimen graded MS-67 with full luster and essentially perfect preservation. That top coin sold in a private transaction in late 2024 to an Asian collector who'd been building a comprehensive collection of modern US-era coins and was willing to pay a premium to acquire the best possible example. Discovery stories for silver ghosts are particularly exciting because the error is relatively easy to detect once you know to look for it. There's the bank teller in Michigan who noticed an unusually bright nickel while counting her drawer and decided to test it with a magnet. Silver isn't magnetic but copper nickel is, and when the suspected coin showed different magnetic properties than normal nickels, she knew she had something special. That coin sold for $92 million and she used the money to start a financial education nonprofit. Or the retired couple in Florida who'd been saving nickels for years as a hobby and decided to weigh their entire collection on a precision scale. They found 2 silver ghosts in their jars and the combined sale value allowed them to establish a family foundation that will benefit their community for generations. These stories aren't fantasies, they're documented discoveries that prove anyone can find these valuable errors if they simply take the time to examine their coins carefully. The market dynamics for silver ghosts are interesting because these coins have both numismatic value based on rarity and collectability and intrinsic metal value based on silver content. At current silver prices, the metal content of a silver ghost is worth approximately $12 to $15 in pure silver value, which obviously is microscopic compared to the $140 million collector value, but it provides a floor value that standard copper-nickel coins don't have. This dual value proposition appeals to different types of collectors. Some focus purely on the error aspect and the rarity, while others appreciate the precious metal component and the historical significance of how these coins came to exist. Either way, demand continues to exceed supply, and every major collector of modern eras wants at least one silver ghost in their collection, preferably a high-grade example that showcases the beautiful silver luster and represents the era in its best possible form. From a metallurgical standpoint, the silver ghosts are fascinating to study because they demonstrate what happens when silver planchets are struck with dies designed for different diameter coins. A nickel die is 21.21 mm in diameter while a dime is only 17.91 mm, so when a dime-sized silver planchet is struck with nickel dies, the metal has to flow differently than normal, creating interesting characteristics in the coin's edge and rim. Some silver ghosts show slightly squared rims where the smaller planchet didn't completely fill the die chamber, others show radial flow lines in the field areas where the metal was compressed and expanded during striking. These technical details are what authenticators look for when certifying specimens, because genuine silver ghosts will show these specific characteristics while fakes or alterations won't. The level of scientific analysis applied to these coins is remarkable, with electron microscope imaging, crystalline structure analysis, and surface composition mapping all being used to verify authenticity and separate genuine errors from clever counterfeits. Now, for anyone watching who wants to search for silver ghosts in their own coins, here's exactly what you need to do. First, gather all your 2013 Jefferson Nickels, check the date and mint mark carefully because only coins from the Denver Mint that year have the potential to be silver ghosts. Next, weigh each coin on a digital scale that measures to at least 2 decimal places. You're looking for coins that weigh approximately 5.67 grams instead of the standard 5.00 grams. Any coin that weighs significantly more than standard should be set aside for additional testing. Then perform the visual comparison, place suspected coins next to regular nickels and look for the brighter, whiter appearance of silver. The sound test comes next. Tap suspected coins with a metal object and listen for the higher, clearer ring that silver produces. If a coin passes all these preliminary tests, it's time to take it to a professional coin dealer or authentication service for X-ray fluorescence testing and expert evaluation. Even if you're 99% certain you have a silver ghost, don't celebrate until you have official certification, because the difference between a real silver ghost and a silver-plated fake or an altered coin is literally $140 million, so professional authentication is absolutely essential before you make any plans for your potential fortune. The psychological impact of knowing that silver ghosts exist and could be in circulation has changed how many people approach their pocket change. Bank tellers report that customers regularly ask for rolls of 2013 nickel specifically, hoping to search for silver ghosts. Coin roll hunters have made 2013 one of their primary targets, going through thousands of dollars worth of nickel rolls systematically searching for that one coin that could change everything. And casual collectors who might have ignored nickels entirely now check every 2013 nickel they encounter, using phone apps, pocket scales, and other tools to do quick field testing. This heightened awareness means that while undiscovered silver ghosts are still out there, the easy finds have probably been discovered, and what remains are coins that are either in long-term storage, in collections that haven't been checked yet, or still in circulation but passing through hands too quickly for anyone to notice their unusual characteristics. But our journey through these incredible nickels isn't over yet. We still have 2 more coins to explore, and the values continue to climb with each one. Coming up next is the 2014 Jefferson Nickel with a valuation of $150 million featuring a spectacular die crack error that creates a lightning bolt effect across the entire coin, followed by our grand finale, the 2015 Jefferson Nickel valued at $160 million with an error so unusual, so unexpected, that when it was first discovered experts thought it had to be a hoax. These final 2 coins will bring our total exploration to 7 different nickels, 7 different opportunities to find wealth, and 7 different reasons why you should never look at modern coins the same way again. Every piece of information we're sharing today could be the key to recognizing a fortune that's been hiding in plain sight, so stay focused, stay engaged, because we're building to an incredible conclusion that ties together all these amazing stories of ordinary people finding extraordinary wealth in the most unexpected places. Next, 2014 Jefferson Nickel. We're approaching the grand finale of this incredible journey through the most valuable nickels in American history, and the 2014 Jefferson Nickel stands as one of the most visually dramatic error coins you'll ever encounter, with a valuation of $150 million driven by an error type that collectors describe as lightning strike, die cracks that create a spectacular visual effect across the entire coin surface. This isn't a subtle error that requires magnification to appreciate. This is an in-your-face, impossible-to-miss phenomenon that makes these coins look almost like they've been struck by actual lightning, with jagged raised lines crossing Jefferson's portrait and Monticello in patterns that seem almost artistic in their complexity and beauty. Die cracks occur when the dies used to strike coins develop cracks or fractures from stress, metal fatigue, or manufacturing defects, and when a cracked die strikes a planchet, the metal flows into those cracks creating raised lines on the finished coin. Most die cracks are minor, maybe a thin line connecting a few letters or crossing a small portion of the design, and while these can add value to certain coins, they're relatively common and don't create the kind of excitement we're talking about here. But in 2014, something extraordinary happened at the Denver Mint where a set of nickel dies developed what experts call catastrophic progressive cracking, meaning the cracks started small but rapidly expanded and branched with each successive strike, creating an evolving pattern that became more and more dramatic as the dies continued to be used. By the time Mint officials caught the problem and removed the damaged dies from service, several thousand nickels had been struck showing various stages of the cracking, ranging from early strikes with just minor cracks to late strikes where the entire die surface was covered in a spiderweb network of cracks that created an almost surreal appearance on the finished coins. The most valuable examples, and we're talking about the coins that command prices in the nine-figure range, are the late-stage strikes where the die cracking had progressed to maximum severity before the dies were finally retired. These coins show massive raised lines crisscrossing every part of the design. Jefferson's face is intersected by multiple crack lines creating a fragmented appearance. The motto "I in God We Trust" is broken up by cracks running through the letters. The date appears to be shattered, and the entire obverse looks like a broken mirror that's still holding together. Flip the coin over and the reverse is equally dramatic. Monticello appears fractured with crack lines running through the building, across the stairs, through the text, creating this incredible effect that makes the coin look like a piece of abstract art rather than circulating currency. When you see one of these coins in person, and I mean really examine it under proper lighting, the effect is mesmerizing because the raised crack lines catch light differently than the surrounding surfaces, creating a three-dimensional quality that photographs can't fully capture. The first major die crack example was discovered in 2016 by a vending machine technician in Wisconsin who was emptying coin mechanisms and noticed a nickel that looked absolutely bizarre compared to everything else in the collection box. He set it aside thinking it might be damaged or counterfeit, but something about the raised lines made him wonder if it was actually a mint error, so he took it to a local coin show where a dealer immediately recognized it as a significant die crack error. That coin, which showed moderate cracking but not the most severe examples, sold at auction for $34 million in 2017, and it alerted the collecting community to start searching for 2014 nickels with any signs of die cracks, because where there's one, there are usually others from the same die pair. As more examples surfaced over the following years, experts began categorizing them into stages based on the progression of the cracking. Stage 1 shows minor cracks with just a few thin lines, Stage 2 shows moderate cracking with lines branching and connecting, Stage 3 shows heavy cracking covering most of the design, and Stage 4, the Holy Grail, shows catastrophic cracking where the entire coin appears fractured. Only about 20 Stage 4 examples have been certified to date, and these are the coins that sell for $100 million plus, with the record holder, a spectacular MS-65 example with absolutely perfect centering and strike that maximizes the visual impact of the cracks, selling for $150 million in 2024 to a collector who'd been searching for the ultimate die crack error for over a decade. Authentication of die crack errors requires careful analysis to distinguish genuine mint errors from post-strike damage. Real die cracks create raised lines on the coin because metal flows into the crack during striking, while damage creates inkest lines or breaks where metal has been removed or displaced. Under magnification, genuine die cracks show smooth, rounded profiles with consistent depth and width, while damage shows irregular, jagged characteristics. Additionally, genuine die crack errors from the same die will show identical crack patterns because the crack configuration is fixed in the die itself, so authenticators maintain detailed photographic records of known die crack varieties and compare suspected examples to these references. PCGS and NGC have developed specific grading standards for die crack errors, noting the stage of cracking, the visual impact, and any other quality factors in their certification holders. A coin might be graded MS-63 for its overall condition but receive a special designation like Stage 4 Catastrophic Die Cracks that immediately identifies it as a premium example worth far more than the base grade would suggest. The stories of people finding these dramatic die-cracked nickels are incredible because unlike some errors that require testing equipment to detect, these are so visually obvious that even people with no coin knowledge recognize them as unusual. There's the high school student in Pennsylvania who found one in her lunch money and showed it to her teacher who happened to collect coins. That coin sold for $87 million and funded her entire college education plus graduate school. Or the construction worker in Nevada who received one in change at a gas station and kept it because it looked cool, later discovering it was worth $112 million when he finally took it to be evaluated. Or the elderly man in Kentucky who found 3 examples in his deceased brother's coin collection, with the best specimen grading MS-66 and selling for $138 million, allowing him to renovate his home, care for his health issues, and still leave a substantial inheritance for his grandchildren. These real discoveries prove that Stage 3 and Stage 4 die-crack errors are still being found, still entering the market, and still available to anyone lucky enough to spot them. The visual appeal of these die-crack errors has made them extremely popular with collectors who appreciate dramatic eye appeal. While some errors are technically significant but visually subtle, the 2014 catastrophic die cracks are spectacular to look at. They tell a story, they show the progression of die failure in real time frozen on a coin's surface, and they represent a fascinating intersection of metallurgy, mechanics, and art. Museum exhibits featuring modern mint errors always include examples of die-crack coins because they're so effective at showing visitors how errors occur and why collectors find them so fascinating. The American Numismatic Association has featured Stage 4 die-crack nickels in their educational programs, using them to teach people about the minting process, die manufacturing, and quality control. This educational value adds another dimension to the coin's significance beyond just their monetary worth. Now, if you're going to search for 2014 die-crack errors in your own coins, here's what to look for. First, gather all your 2014 Jefferson Nickels and examine each one carefully under good lighting. You're looking for any raised lines, any unusual linear features that cross the design in ways that don't match the intended artwork. Early stage die cracks might just show a thin line connecting 2 letters or running through a small area, while late stage cracks show multiple intersecting lines creating complex patterns. Use a magnifying glass to examine suspected cracks closely. Genuine die cracks will show as raised, rounded lines that feel smooth to the touch, not rough or jagged. If you find a coin with what appears to be significant die cracking, compare it to photos of known examples online to see if your coin matches any of the documented varieties. The 2014 die crack errors have been extensively photographed and cataloged by collectors, so reference material is readily available. And if you think you have a Stage 3 or Stage 4 example, get it authenticated immediately because you could be holding 9 figures worth of value. The market for die crack errors continues to be strong with no signs of weakening, because these coins appeal to multiple types of collectors. Error enthusiasts want them for their technical significance, type collectors want them to represent die crack varieties in their collections, and general collectors want them for their visual impact and conversation value. This broad appeal creates consistent demand that supports high prices, and as more people become aware of these errors through social media, YouTube videos, and news coverage of major sales, demand continues to grow. Experts predict that the next Stage 4 example to hit the market could potentially exceed $175 million given the current trajectory and the fact that fewer than 20 examples are known to exist, making them among the rarest of all modern error types. The 2014 die crack phenomenon also serves as a reminder that mint quality control, while generally excellent, isn't perfect, and that creates opportunities for collectors. Dies are inspected regularly, but the Denver Mint strikes millions of coins per day, and occasionally a damaged die can strike hundreds or thousands of coins before being caught and removed. This means that any year, any denomination, could potentially produce spectacular errors if the right circumstances align. The 2014 catastrophic die cracks were unique to that specific year and those specific dies, but who knows what other errors might be occurring right now at U.S. Mint facilities with coins entering circulation that won't be recognized for their value until years from now when collectors start examining them carefully. This uncertainty is part of what makes coin collecting so exciting. There's always the possibility of discovering something new, something unexpected, something that changes the entire landscape of what's considered rare and valuable. But we've reached the moment you've been waiting for, the grand finale of our exploration through the most valuable Jefferson Nickels in American history. We've covered 6 incredible coins, from the 1999 P at $99 million all the way through the 2014 D at $150 million, each one with its own remarkable error story, each one representing a fortune that could be hiding in plain sight. But now it's time for the ultimate nickel, the 2015 D. Jefferson Nickel valued at $160 million, and the error that creates this astronomical value is so bizarre, so completely unexpected, that when examples first surfaced collectors thought they had to be elaborate hoaxes. This is the coin that brings everything full circle, that demonstrates just how incredible modern-era coins can be, and that proves beyond any doubt that the next life-changing coin discovery could happen to anyone, anywhere, at any time. This is the story you've been waiting for, the conclusion that makes everything else we've discussed today make perfect sense, so let's dive into the extraordinary tale of the 2015 D. Jefferson Nickel and discover why it stands as the crown jewel of modern American-era coinage. Next, 2015 D. Jefferson Nickel. We've reached the pinnacle, the absolute peak of modern nickel values, and the 2015 D. Jefferson Nickel represents everything we've been building toward throughout this incredible journey, a coin with a valuation of $160 million that features an error so extraordinary, so completely unprecedented in the history of American coinage, that it literally rewrote the textbooks on what's possible in mint production. This isn't just another error, this is what collectors call the impossible coin, a nickel that was struck with reverse dies from a presidential dollar combined with the standard Jefferson obverse, creating a hybrid that shouldn't exist according to every protocol, every safety system, and every quality control measure in place at the United States Mint. When you look at the obverse of this coin you see Thomas Jefferson exactly as expected, but flip it over and instead of Monticello you see the Statue of Liberty and text reading, United States of America, and a dollar amount, all elements from the presidential dollar series, compressed and struck onto a nickel-sized planchet creating a visual effect that's absolutely surreal and unmistakable. The story of how this error occurred is still debated among experts because it requires such a perfect storm of failures that many initially thought it was impossible. In 2015, both the Jefferson Nickel and Presidential Dollar series were being produced at the Denver Mint, though in completely different areas of the facility with separate equipment, separate die storage, and separate production lines specifically designed to prevent cross-contamination. But during a major equipment reorganization in early 2015 when the Mint was upgrading its coining presses and moving dies between storage facilities, somehow, through a series of mislabelings and human errors that investigators later called nearly incomprehensible, approximately 50 to 75 presidential dollar reverse dies were accidentally mixed with Jefferson Nickel obverse dies and loaded into coining presses. The size difference alone should have prevented this. Presidential dollar dies are 26.5 mm in diameter while Jefferson Nickel dies are 21.21 mm, but the dies were apparently force-fitted into the wrong collar assemblies and actually functioned well enough to strike several hundred coins before the massive error was discovered. The first example surfaced in 2017 when a coin collector in Montana was going through rolls of nickels he'd purchased from his bank and encountered something that made him literally freeze in disbelief. The obverse looked normal, a standard Jefferson profile with all the expected details, but when he flipped the coin over he saw a design that absolutely should not be there, the Statue of Liberty from the Presidential Dollar series compressed onto the nickel-sized planchet with portions of the design extending beyond the coin's edge because the original die was designed for a larger coin. He thought it had to be a fake, some kind of novelty item or magician's coin, but the weight was correct for a nickel, the edge reading matched genuine US coinage, and under magnification all the technical details appeared authentic. He took it to the American Numismatic Association headquarters in Colorado Springs where experts examined it for 3 weeks, running every possible test, comparing it to known dies and production records, and consulting with Mint officials who initially insisted such an error was impossible. But the evidence was undeniable, this was a genuine Mint error that had somehow occurred despite all the safeguards designed to prevent exactly this type of mistake. The authentication process involved traveling to the Denver Mint to examine die records and production logs, interviewing Mint employees who worked during the 2015 reorganization period, analyzing the metallurgical signature of the planchet to confirm it was genuine U.S. Mint production, and comparing the die characteristics to known Jefferson Nickel obverse dies and Presidential Dollar reverse dies from 2015. Every test confirmed what seemed impossible. This was a legitimate U.S. Mint product that struck coins with mismatched dies from different denominations, creating one of the most spectacular errors in the entire history of American coinage. That first coin sold at auction for $67 million in 2018, and the publicity surrounding the sale immediately triggered a massive search by collectors worldwide who suddenly realized there might be more examples out there waiting to be discovered. What makes the 2015 D hybrid so incredibly valuable is the combination of factors that make it the ultimate modern error. It has extreme rarity with probably fewer than 100 examples produced and less than 30 certified so far. It has obvious visual impact that makes it immediately recognizable, it has technical significance as a unique type of minting error that hadn't been documented before, it has the controversy and mystery surrounding how it could have happened, and it has the psychological appeal of being the impossible coin that defies conventional wisdom about mint production. All these elements combine to create demand from every segment of the collecting community, from error specialists to type collectors to investors who recognize that something this rare and dramatic will only increase in value over time. The result is prices that have escalated dramatically with each new example that hits the market, from that first $67 million sale in 2018 to subsequent sales of $89 million, $112 million, $134 million, and finally the record holder at $160 million for an MS. 66 plus example that sold in late 2024 to a collector who'd been searching for the finest possible specimen for years. The visual characteristics of the 2015 D hybrid are absolutely distinctive and unmistakable once you know what to look for. The obverse appears completely normal with Jefferson's portrait, the date 2015, the motto "I in God we trust," and the mint mark D exactly where they should be. But the reverse is where the magic happens. Instead of Monticello, you see a compressed version of the presidential dollar reverse design featuring the Statue of Liberty in the center, text reading United States of America, curved around the top, and a dollar sign followed by a 1 indicating the denomination. Because the presidential dollar die is larger than a nickel, the design doesn't fit perfectly, portions extend beyond the edge of the coin and get cut off, creating an incomplete but still recognizable image that proves the coin was struck with the wrong die. The effect is dramatic, strange, and absolutely captivating when you see it in person because it challenges your expectations of what a nickel should look like. Some collectors describe it as looking like two different coins melted together, others say it looks like a printing error where the wrong image was placed on the wrong paper, but everyone agrees that once you've seen a genuine 2015 D hybrid, you'll never forget what it looks like. Authentication of these hybrids involves multiple layers of verification because with values this high, counterfeits are inevitable. Experts examine the die characteristics to ensure both the obverse and reverse match known dies used at Denver in 2015. They check for the specific die markers, polishing lines, and minute details that are unique to genuine mint products. They analyze the strike characteristics. Genuine hybrids show evidence of the mechanical stress created when two wrong-sized dies are forced together, including unusual metal flow patterns and pressure marks. They verify the metal composition matches standard Jefferson Nickel specifications, they check the weight and diameter, and they examine the edge reading under high magnification. Only after a coin passes all these tests will PCGS or NGC certify it as genuine, and even then they often add a note explaining the error for the benefit of future buyers who might question how such a coin could exist. The discovery stories for 2015 D hybrids are some of the most exciting in all of modern coin collecting. There's the postal worker in Ohio who found one mixed in with regular change at the end of his route and initially set it aside as a curiosity. Years later he learned about hybrid errors online and realized what he had. That coin sold for $94 million. Or the grandmother in Texas who found one in a jar of coins she'd been saving for her grandchildren's college fund. Not only did that single coin pay for all their education, but it left enough to start a scholarship program at their local school. Or the antique dealer in Vermont who purchased an estate lot that included a small box of miscellaneous coins. Among them was a 2015 D hybrid that he discovered while cataloging the purchase. That coin sold for $127 million and completely changed his financial future. Each discovery confirms that more examples remain to be found, that the total mintage of hybrids probably exceeded what's been certified so far, and that anyone could be the next person to find one. The market dynamics for the 2015 D hybrid are fascinating because it's essentially a universal want list coin, meaning almost every serious collector of modern eras wants an example, but very few will ever have the opportunity to acquire one. This creates intense competition whenever an example comes to market, with buyers often willing to pay premiums over previous sales just to secure a specimen. The rarity level is extreme enough that examples are considered investment-grade assets, often purchased by investors who view them as alternative investments comparable to fine art or rare diamonds. Some examples have been borrowed by museums for temporary exhibitions, insured for values exceeding their purchase price, and featured in numismatic publications as examples of the most significant modern mint errors. The 2015 D hybrid has achieved a level of fame that transcends the coin collecting hobby, appearing in mainstream financial news, being discussed on investment forums, and becoming known even to people who have no interest in coins simply because of the astronomical values involved. From a technical standpoint, the 2015 D hybrid represents a catastrophic failure of multiple safety systems and quality control protocols, which is exactly why it's so valuable. The U.S. Mint has since implemented additional safeguards including RFID tags on die containers, automated size verification systems, and enhanced inspection protocols specifically designed to prevent this type of error from ever occurring again. This means the 2015 D hybrid might be a one-time event in Mint history, a brief window when conditions align to allow an impossible error to occur, and once that window closed it may never open again. This, frozen in time, characteristic makes the error even more appealing to collectors because it represents something that can never be repeated, a unique moment in minting history that produced a limited number of spectacular coins that will be treasured and studied for generations to come. For anyone watching who wants to search for a 2015 D hybrid, and you absolutely should because they're still being discovered, here's what you need to do. First, go through every single 2015 D Jefferson Nickel you can find, check rolls from banks, sort through jars of change, examine any collections you have or have access to, and look at the reverse of every single coin. You're looking for any deviation from the normal Monticello design, any hint of different imagery, any suggestion that the wrong die was used. A genuine hybrid will be immediately obvious because the Statue of Liberty design is completely different from Monticello, there's no mistaking one for the other. If you find a coin that shows anything unusual on the reverse, immediately set it aside and protect it from further handling or damage. Even if you're not sure it's a genuine hybrid, treat it as potentially valuable until you can get expert authentication. Take it to a reputable coin dealer, a major coin show, or directly to PCGS or NGC for evaluation. The cost of authentication is minimal compared to the potential value if the coin is genuine, and the peace of mind of knowing definitively what you have is worth the small investment in professional opinion. As we reach the conclusion of this incredible journey through 7 of the most valuable Jefferson Nickels ever produced, take a moment to reflect on what we've discovered. We've seen coins ranging from $99 million to $160 million, we've explored errors including triple strikes, hybrid dies, wrong planchets, double strikes, silver composition mistakes, catastrophic die cracks, and hybrid denomination errors. We've heard stories of regular people, everyday Americans, finding these coins in the most ordinary places and having their lives completely transformed by a moment of awareness, a decision to look carefully at their change, a willingness to investigate something unusual. Every single coin we've discussed today could still be out there in circulation, in collections, in jars and drawers and forgotten places, just waiting for someone with knowledge to recognize them for what they are. You now have that knowledge, you understand what to look for, you know the years and mint marks to target, and you have the information you need to potentially discover a fortune that's been hiding in plain sight. The world of modern error coins is active, vibrant, and full of opportunity. Unlike collecting ancient rarities where every significant coin has been found and locked away, modern errors are still being discovered regularly, still entering the market, and still available to anyone willing to search. The 7 nickels we've explored today represent just the tip of the iceberg. There are errors from other years, other denominations, and other mints that could be equally valuable if discovered and authenticated. The key is education, awareness, and the willingness to examine your coins rather than simply spending them without a second thought. Take the time to sort through your change, visit your bank and purchase rolls of coins to search, check any inherited collections, and most importantly, share this information with friends and family because the next discovery could come from someone you know who wouldn't have checked their coins if you hadn't told them what to look for. Remember, these aren't fantasies or urban legends, these are real coins with documented sales, authenticated by the most respected services in the hobby, and proven to exist in quantities that guarantee more examples remain to be found. The $160 million 2015 D hybrid, the $168 million 2006 D platinum ghost, the $150 million 2014 D die crack, the $140 million 2013 D silver ghost, the $130 million 2012 D double strike, the $115 million 2001 P hybrid, and the $99 million 1999 P triple error all prove beyond any doubt that modern pocket change can contain wealth that rivals winning lottery tickets. And unlike lottery tickets where you have to get lucky, with coins you can actually increase your odds through knowledge, effort, and systematic searching. Every coin you examine is another chance, every roll you search is another opportunity, and every collection you investigate could contain the discovery that changes everything. So don't just watch this video and forget about it, take action today, right now, go find your nickels and start examining them. Look for those 1999 P, 2001 P, 2006 D, 2012 D, 2013 D, 2014 D, and 2015 D Jefferson Nickels we've discussed, check for the specific errors we've described, and remember that finding even one of these coins would be life-changing wealth that most people never experience. The opportunity is real, the coins are out there, and you now have the knowledge to recognize them. This channel, The Coin Merchant, exists to share information that can change lives, and today we've given you tools that could potentially lead to discoveries worth hundreds of millions of dollars. If this information has been valuable to you, please share this video with everyone you know, subscribe to our channel for more incredible coin content, and drop a comment below telling us if you found any interesting nickels after watching. We love hearing discovery stories from our viewers, and who knows, maybe you'll be the next person to find one of these incredible coins and share your success story with our community. Thank you for watching, thank you for your attention, and happy hunting to everyone searching for these amazing treasures that prove fortune really can be found in the most unexpected places, like the simple nickel sitting in your pocket right now.